grandchildren. You're all gathered here today. It's a very, very momentous occasion, which won't be repeated. I mean, there's only one 40th anniversary of Sri Krishna Balaram Mandir, and that is now. It's happening now. So let's all think ourselves very, very fortunate to be here this morning at this great occasion. So we'll just get right into the classes. Sa Vai Pumsam Paro Dhamo Yato Bhaktir Adokshaje Ahaitaki Aprati Hata Yaya Atma Subra Siddhi Savai Pumsang Paradhamo Savai Pumsang Paradhamo Yato Bhakti Adokshaje Ahaitaki Aprati Hata Yayatma Suprasiddhati Savai Pumsang Paradhamo Yato Bhakti Adoksaje Ahaitaki Aprati Hata Yayatma Suprasiddhati Savai Pumsang Paradhamo Yato Bhakti Adoksaje Ahaitaki Aprati Hata Yayatma Suprasiddhati Savai Pumsang Paradhamo Yato Bhakti Adoksaje
Anybody want to chant?
Savai Pumsang Paradhamo Yato Bhakti Adoksaje Ahaitaki Aprati Hata Yatma Suprasiddhati That's nice, 2 at a time. Should we try 3 next time? No one else? Okay. Sa, that. Vai, certainly. Pumsam, for mankind. Paraha, sublime. Dhamma, occupation. Yataha, by which. Bhakti, devotional service. Adokshaje, unto the transcendence. Ahaitaki, causeless. Aprati hata, unbroken. Yaya, by which. Atma, the self. Suprasiddhati, completely satisfied. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The supreme occupation, dharma, for all humanity is that by which men can attain to the loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. In this statement, Sri Sutta Goswami answers the first questions of the sages of Namasaranya. The sages asking him to summarize the whole range of revealed scriptures and present the most essential part so that fallen people or the people in general might easily take it up. The Vedas prescribe two different types of occupation for the human being. One is called pravritti marg, or the path of sense enjoyment, and the other is called nivritti marg, or the path of renunciation. The path of enjoyment is inferior, and the path of sacrifice for the supreme cause is superior. The material existence of the living being is a diseased condition of actual life. Actual life is spiritual existence or Brahma-bhuta existence, where life is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Material existence is temporary, illusory, and full of miseries. There is no happiness at all. There is just the futile attempt to get rid of the miseries, and temporary cessation of misery is falsely called happiness. Therefore, the path of progressive material enjoyment, which is temporary, miserable, and illusory, is inferior. But devotional service to the Supreme Lord, which leads one to eternity, blissful and all-cognizant life, is called the superior quality of occupation. This is sometimes polluted when mixed with the inferior quality. For example, adoption of devotional service for the material gain is certainly an obstruction to the progressive path of renunciation. Renunciation or abnegation for ultimate good is certainly a better occupation than enjoyment in the diseased condition of life. Such enjoyment only aggravates the symptoms of disease and increases its duration. Therefore, devotional service to the Lord must be pure in quality, for example, without the least desire for material enjoyment. One should, therefore, accept the superior quality of occupation in the form of the devotional service of the Lord without any tinge of unnecessary desire, fruitive action, and philosophical speculation. This alone can lead to perpetual solace in His service. We have purposely denoted dharma as occupation because the root meaning of the word dharma is that which sustains one's existence. A living being's sustenance of existence is to coordinate his activities with his eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Krishna is the central pivot of living beings, and He is the all-attractive living entity or eternal forms amongst all other living beings or eternal forms. Each and every living being has his eternal form in the spiritual existence, and Krishna is the eternal attraction for all of them. Krishna is the complete whole, and everything else is his part and parcel. The relationship is one of the servant and the served. It is transcendental and is completely distinct from our experience in material existence. This relation of servant and the served is the most congenial form of intimacy. One can realize it as devotional service progresses. Everyone should engage himself in that transcendental loving service of the Lord, even in the present state of material existence. That will gradually give one the clue to actual life and please Him to complete satisfaction. Oma Jnana Timarandasya Jnana Jnana Salakaya Chakshusha Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is Prabhupada's purport, so beautifully written and described. The parallel process that goes on in the material world. Prabhupada has told us over and over again that this material existence, the Mahatattva, or the conglomeration of material universes that we're presently living in, is what we call the prison house of the spiritual world. And as we have read in Srila Prabhupada's books, somehow or other, since time immemorial, we have desired to try to enjoy without Krishna, not in this servitor, servant mood. And as a result, we have been put into this conditioned life. So, before we became devotees and connected to the supreme occupation, Dharma, or the Param Dharma, we were simply drifting, just like it's explained. Brahmanda Brahmate Kona Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Bij. So, in this condition of life, without any understanding, without any knowledge of transcendental aspiration or transcendental service to the Supreme Lord, we are just simply drifting from one body to another, from one universe to another. And that can perpetuate eternally. We can see that the souls in the material world can be nitya bandha. We can be here forever and ever and ever. So we can see that the human form of life is so, so important. Prabhupada has said, to obtain a human form of life is very, very, very difficult. What to speak of becoming a Vaishnava and performing devotional service. So, hopelessness, there's two key words that come to my mind. Hopelessness and utter dissatisfaction. The blind leading the blind. That is what the material world is all about. Before Srila Prabhupada came to the West, there was what you call a revolution, where people were so fed up with the conditions of life that they were living, that somehow or other they needed a change, but at that time there was no one to guide them. If you look at what was available, you had Navasesha, Sunyavadi, you had impersonalism, voidism, you had governments that were blind to the importance of the human form of life. They were governing, but what were they governing? They're simply cheating the innocent public. So politicians, government officials, governments in general, and we're not talking about Maharaj Parikit's government or Maharaj Yudhisthira's government. We're talking about governments that are totally blind and ignorant to the importance of the human form of life. Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita that a little advancement on this path of devotional service can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. And what is that dangerous most type of fear? Is that if one is not rendering any devotional service within the human form of life, then he can return to the 8,400,000 species of life, the wheel of samsara. So Prabhupada said, it is so important, the human form of life. Why do you think that the Battle of Kurukshetra came about? It was simply to maintain good government, good ruling, good kingdom, to put Maharaj Yudhisthira back on the throne. So human life could be ruled in a proper way through Varna Ashram Dham system. So as a result, 640 million lives were sacrificed in the Battle of Kurukshetra, simply so the human form of life, human society in general, could be maintained. So Krishna says to Arjuna, you will not become a riven cloud. Because Arjuna was saying to Krishna, if I stop this process of devotional service, if I stop my sadhana bhakti, what will happen to me? Will I become like a riven cloud? That little strip of cloud that just detaches itself from the overall bigger clouds. And Krishna says no, because simply you have what you call opened your account. You are performing devotional service. So this is why it is so important for societies in general, if we also add not to the Nevasesha, Sunyavadi, the corrupt governments, these politicians that think they can lead, we also have the scientists and the academics. What is the use of the academia? Before I read Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, I would go into a bookshop and there would be maybe 20, 30 translations of Bhagavad Gita. But what was that translation all about? It was just simply symbolism, the body, recognizing the body as the field of activity, that the battle was going on. It was all symbolized around the body. And ultimately it was about merging into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. So there's a sloka, Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi, Pancharatna Vidim Vina, Akantaki Hari Bhakti, Upadayeva Kalpate, that if one is not linked, Vede Rama Yane Chaiva, if one is not linked to the authorized Shastras and Scriptures, then it's a futile attempt to try to translate, to put your, what you call your smriti, attach your smriti to the already established shrutis and supplementary literatures of the Vedas. Vede Rama Yanai Chaiva Purane Bharate Tata Odo Ante Chamadyacha Hari Savatra Jiyate. In the Vedas, Vede, Rama, in the Ramayana, Vede Rama, Yanai, certainly. Vede Rama, Yanai Chaiva, Purane, Puranas, Bharate, the Mahabharata. Odo, in the beginning, Ante, at the end. Odo, Ante, Chamadje, in the beginning, in the middle, Madhyeta. Hari Savatra Jiyate. Only Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, is mentioned. So this is why we sing this verse in the morning. And I'd like everyone to say it with me, because I'd like everyone to say it again. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha, kripa sindhu bhayevacha, patitanam panavebhyo, vaishnavebhyo namaha. Srila Prabhupada. So within that hopelessness and despair, hopelessness and despair, Srila Prabhupada came to put hope within our hearts. Because he has what? He has so much compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. He becomes the desire tree. Because what do we want? What do each and every one of us want? We want to be happy eternally with Krishna, but we've forgotten how to do that. So futile attempts are made to be happy without any form of system, without any Vana Ashram Dham, without any pure devotees on the planet to guide us. Futile attempts were made. But then Prabhupada came with that compassion as a desire tree. as a transcendental gardener. When Lord Chaitanya was speaking with Rupa Goswami in Dasavamedha, there was many people wanting to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Many, many people, throngs, thousands of people. And he said to Rupa Goswami, let me take you up the Ganga, up the river. And they arrived at Dasavamedha, and that is where Lord Chaitanya revealed to Rupa Goswami the science of devotional service. And Lord Chaitanya said, let me just take a drop of that ocean. The ocean was represented as the science of love of Godhead, so deep, so broad, so wide. Lord Chaitanya says we cannot conceive of understanding the extent of devotional service, the Param Dhamma, Param Brahma. So let me just take a drop and expand it. And that's where Lord Chaitanya was speaking to Rupa Goswami about the importance of the human form of life. So Srila Prabhupada, when he stepped foot on the Jaladuta, it was a cargo ship. It wasn't a cruise ship where there was comforts, where he could simply relax through his journey. Has there anyone ever been on a cargo ship before? Across dangerous oceans? I've been on a cargo ship. And cargo ships are designed for cargo, not comforts for individuals. They're not cruise ships. But yet Prabhupada chose to go on a cargo ship. He chose cargo ship. Because you know what? Prabhupada brought a lot of cargo with him. Containers. Prabhupada had containers, heavy weight on that cargo ship. And you know what was in those containers? Prabhupada had very few Bhagavatams. Prabhupada didn't come with containers full of Bhagavatams. That was just the beginning. That's what he managed to do while he was in India. He translated and brought whatever he could with him in a trunk. But there were also big containers on the ship.
Yeah, he was carrying rice and dal, raw.
Rice and dal? I don't think so. I'm kind of speaking metaphorically. Prabhupada brought with him Bhakti Lata Beej. He brought containers, loads of containers of Bhakti Lata Beej, seeds. And his plan was to plant. He was the transcendental gardener. He came to plant transcendental seeds in our hearts. So, during the journey, the swells of the ocean, I remember once describing those swells as only maybe 15, 20 feet between the waves. But then I was corrected very strongly by Parvati the other day when I was giving Bhagavad Gita class. Those swells were up to 30, 40 meters. So you can imagine Prabhupada in this cargo ship and then having at least 2 heart attacks. Every reason to turn back, to go back to Vrindavan. Prabhupada spent, I think, at least 6.5 years preparing for this journey to come. So, during that journey, seasickness. I'm sure most of you have experienced seasickness. Yeah? Put your hands up. Seasickness. And even when there's nothing to come up, there's still that wrenching. Prabhupada was his body was very small. Prabhupada was very, very weak. Also, the 2 heart attacks on top of, just the seasickness was enough, but then to have 2 heart attacks. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Anavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Unlimited compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. And that is why we're all sitting here together this morning, because of Srila Prabhupada going through so much austerity to come. And he came. And established very, very quickly, you could say he hit the ground running. Prabhupada didn't want to waste any time, because Prabhupada knew, in his heart of hearts, Prabhupada knew his time with us was extremely limited. But he wanted to do so much. So after very quickly establishing centers in the West, Prabhupada returned to India. And it was described by Gopal Krishna Maharaj yesterday, that conversation in the Rukmini Dwarkadish temple in Los Angeles, where Dwarkadish told Prabhupada, you have to come back to India. Why? I've just come and I'm establishing centers here in America, and you're telling me to go back to India. My Guru Maharaj has told me to come and translate books, write books, and translate them into English and many other languages. And now you are telling me to go back to India. And Rukmini Dwarkadish said, because I'm going to give you a temple. You will build a temple which is far more beautiful than the temple here in Los Angeles. And here it is, 40 years later. Here it is. And this is where my journey begins. My journey began in London, and I met Srila Prabhupada. And he gave me one of those seeds, and he planted it in my heart. And that was the connection. It was at Trafalgar Square in London. There was only one allowance for us to have a fire sacrifice amongst those big lions, those statues in the middle of London. And Prabhupada gave me my name, Gunarnava. And Dhananjaya, he was very instrumental in me coming here. Dhananjaya and I, we go back a long way. I remember the very first temple I joined in Cardiff, in Wales. Dhananjaya and I, we used to do Sankirtan up and down Queen Street in Cardiff. Rain, shine, hail, snow, just the two of us. Do you remember? Playing cartels and distributing books. It was a two-man band. And then Dhananjaya went back to become the president of Bury Place. That was another beautiful temple. And Shamsundar was the GBC at that time. And I remember just coming off Sankirtan, we used to go up and down Oxford Street, That was a very big gig to go up and down Oxford Street, day in and day out. I mean, how long was Oxford Street? It was quite long, wasn't it? I think, was it, if you do it once, twice, up and down, would that cover more or less the full day? You'd be back, say, around 6 o'clock in the evening. And I remember coming back one evening, and I found, because we used to live very austerely in that temple. We had, in the Brahmachari ashram, we had 2 tea boxes. You know those boxes where they put loose tea leaves and they export them or import them? So we had 2 empty boxes, and one was full of clean Brahmin underwear, and the other one was full of dirty Brahmin underwear. Well, it wasn't quite full. You had to wait for all the clean Brahmin underwear to get dirty before that became full. And then 2 brahmacharis would go down to the washing machines at the end of the week and throw all the Brahmin underwear in the washing machine and clean it and put it back in the other container. So I got ready. I had a nice clean dhoti, and I was thinking, wow, I seem to be taking longer today in getting ready, you know, and I'm missing the arti. Because we used to have these ecstatic artis at Bury Place, and Ravatanandan Swami was there, and he used to lead kirtan, but they were incredible experiences. And all of a sudden Dhananjaya came and he said, Gunarnava, Prabhupada wants to see you. He says, I told Prabhupada that you have some experience in construction work. And I went, oh. My heart started pumping. And he took me up to see Srila Prabhupada. And again, I'm going to ask some of my godbrothers and sisters. When I went into the room, there was a glow in the room. I'll never forget this experience. There was a glow in the room. Now, I was reading the other day Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and there's a part there where there's a description by Sridhar Swami, and he's describing Dhruva. After Dhruva had finished his meditation and Krishna appeared before him, a transcendental airplane appeared, and it came down and it landed to take Dhruva back to Vaikuntha Loka. And while Dhruva was circumambulating the airplane, as he was circumambulating, his body started to shine fulgently, like molten gold. And Sridhar gives the description of Haran Mayena, which means golden like hue. So, Tapta Kancha and a Gaurangi. Kancha is, if you translate that word, Tapta Kancha and a Gaurangi, Tapta Kancha, Gaurangi, molten gold. Radharani's body is the color of molten gold. Namo Mahavananyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gora. Lord Chaitanya also came in a golden form in the mood of Radharani. So the Vaikuntha Vasis in the spiritual world, they have all this golden hue. And Prabhupada was an avatar. He came from the spiritual world as a preacher. And I have seen that golden hue on more than one occasion. And I remember when we were constructing the temple, this is where I bring Gurudas into it. Gurudas was here in Vrindavan when I first came, and I'll never forget his welcoming. He was so welcoming to me. And I'll never forget that, Prabhu. Guru Das and Jamuna were like parents to me. They were like my parents. And they gave guidance to me. And at this point, I mustn't forget Smarahari. I don't know if Smarahari's here. We came together on it was a funny incident because after I went in to see Prabhupada and I felt so I was overwhelmed. Couldn't say anything. And Prabhupada says, I want you to go to Vrindavan. And Smarahari was behind me, and he said to Smarahari, and you also have experience with construction? And Smarahari, almost flippantly, but not flippantly, he said, oh, no, Srila Prabhupada, I don't have any experience, but I did some technical drawing in school. Yeah. That is all right. Krishna will employ you, Prabhupada said. And we came to Vrindavan. And we met Guru Das and Yamuna. And you were so well, Guru Das, thank you. You were so welcoming. You told me many things. I appreciate it. Jamuna, I want to acknowledge Jamuna. I can't begin to describe how she was so expert at everything she did, even just breathing. She was very good at breathing. Look at that cookbook that she made. It's like straight out of the spiritual world. How can anybody think that that's a material manifestation? So beautiful. When she cooked, and Shruta Kirti was telling me about that experience with Prabhupada. He says, you make very good American prashadam. You come and taste Yamuna's, she makes Vedic prashadam. Where's Shruti? Oh, there you go. Right? What was it like? Yeah, never heard it before. Right. And then, after those wonderful experiences with Guru Das and Yamuna, and I want to acknowledge Yadavacharya, Satyavrata, Tatpur Maharaj, who's passed on. Guru Das, can you think of any of the, oh yeah, Vyala. I've got a great story about Vyala. Vyala had very, very dark skin. I can't tell the story right now, but it's a really funny story, but I'm going to tell it. I met Surabhi, and he was there. He came to Vrindavan for one purpose, and that is to build this beautiful temple. So my role, my progressive role, was always, I was the second man. I was the support man. I supported Guru Das, I supported Jamuna, I supported Dhananjaya, and then I was to become a support for Surabhi. And then I want to bring in another incredible personality, Guru Kripa. Guru Kripa and Surabhi, I have heroes. Prabhupada is my biggest hero, and I'm sure he's all your biggest hero. But you know what? You see that plaque up there? There's a marble plaque on the wall, and whose names are on there? Prabhupada said their names have to be on that plaque. Guru Kripa. He collected with his Namhata group. with Yasodanandan Swami, his name's also. And single-handedly, this group of devotees, they collected all the money and gave it to Prabhupada. Because money was very difficult to come by. Without money we couldn't buy cement. And he stepped in and Prabhupada, and I'm going to say it, I know you'll probably say it also many times, but I saw the look in Prabhupada's eye when Guru Kripa would bring money to Prabhupada, and it's very difficult, under very, very difficult circumstances in Japan. You know, in those days, and he was bringing huge amounts of money. Vanubhata, he was one of the Namhata devotees, right? He worked so hard. And you know what? They used to come to Vrindavan. They used to break off and they come to Vrindavan, right, Surabhi? And we used to have the most incredible kirtans because we were one. We were building and they were collecting. And those kirtans were heart and soul. There was no messing about. We were so focused, those kirtans. They were so incredible, Maharaj. I still call him Maharaj. He is a Maharaj. Right? I don't care what you say. You are a Maharaj. So they're my heroes. They're my heroes. You're all heroes. You're all heroes. Surabhi, well, we were like Siamese twins. We were joined at the hip. Somehow or other it was destined that we'd come together because we were like hand in glove, you know, like that. I did my service. He was very supportive of Surabhi. I was considered, I guess if you want to put a job description title on it, I was sort of a site manager. I'd make sure all the money was there, the bills were getting paid. Sometimes Surabhi would have to get a little strong with the workers and they would come complaining to me. Because I was more of a sort of laid-back kind of guy, you know. So I would soften the blow and I remember this very incredible experience because we were living in these huts, straw roofs and brick huts, and they were covered with gova, cow dung inside and outside. Very antiseptic, very beautiful. And he said to me one morning, he said, Gunarnava, I'm going to draw the artist's conception of the temple. Because, you know, you see all these plans and they're very one-dimensional kind of depictions of the temple. And I remember, because I am sort of familiar with the Dutch culture, and Dutch people are very pedantic, and they like to cover every little thing. You know, they're a bit OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, that means. You've got an obsessive compulsive, actually I don't like that, because it's not a disorder really, is it? I mean, you could say devotees are obsessive compulsive, aren't you? You're all obsessive and compulsive, but it's not a disorder. That's a false concept. You know, we have to change that. Maybe it'll come out as a really nice acronym. OC something else. Anyway, we'll see. So he had all these pencils and pens. They were very sort of sharp and to the ready. And he would pluck and then he would look at the pen like this. And he started drawing. And you know, he may have stopped from time to time, but he never rubbed anything out. He never erased any lines that were not supposed to be there. And he just went on and on and on, and he didn't stop until he finished. And all of a sudden, this incredible depiction of the temple manifested in the form of this beautiful form, which you see today. And Surabhi's hands, fingers, that was the super soul. Krishna says, I am the ability in man. And you can see that Krishna was just guiding his senses. And this is where the look, because when Prabhupada looked at Guru Kripa, the same look I saw when Prabhupada was shown that artist's conception of the temple. The same look of satisfaction Prabhupada was. This is so good. And that's why Rukmini Dwarkadish told Prabhupada to come back. It's all manifesting, you know. It all manifests. And that's why. It's because Surabhi was the instrument to build this temple, and he drew it first. And coming back to Guru Kripa, Prabhupada said to him, because of what you are doing, Krishna is building you a house in Goloka Vrindavan. I haven't finished yet. Wait for it. Prabhupada said, I've seen it. Prabhupada said, I have seen that house. Guru Kripa Maharaj ki.
Yeah. He said, I have seen it.
That's right.
While you were building that,
While this was being built,
he was building you.
he was building Guru Kripa.
I have seen it, it is very nice.
I have seen it, it is very nice. Now, I can imagine how many houses is being built for Gopal Krishna Maharaj. I mean, when Surabhi and I came 2 years ago, we went to Delhi and we were talking with Maharaj in his room, and he was saying, I want you to come around and have a look at these temples that I'm getting built. And I thought, well, you've already built one. We're sitting in it right now. And he says, no, there's more. And Srila Prabhupada, and Maharaj, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he said to Maharaj that he wanted Gopal Krishna Maharaj to build 11, is it, or 12 temples in Delhi? I can't hear you. Okay. But they are there. And I'm thinking, my God. And they were big temples, weren't they? I mean, by the time we finished going around, we had this four-wheel drive vehicle with this devotee. And it took us all day. I was so tired at the end of the day going around all these temples. Now, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha. That's how it is. We imbibe the mood of Srila Prabhupada.
Psychology is usually having a negative frame of reference where we have a positive alternative, as you were saying. So our OCD is obsessive compulsive determination.
Jai, that's a great one. Fantastic. Let's see what we can do about turning that around. Getting back to Surabhi, I mean, for people that don't know Surabhi, he is an extremely sensitive, humble person, which I admire very, very much. And you know, we lost track of one another for 25 years. I don't know how that happened, you know. And I managed to track him down. Just in case you want to talk, you will be talking in a minute. And was it 3 years ago that Sydney festival? Yeah, in 2011, there was this incredible 40th anniversary festival of the Sydney Temple and the deities there. And H.G.Surabhi was there, and most of the Australian the old fogies, you know, we all sort of showed up there. And Kurma, he made this incredible arrangement over, I think, four days or so. And we had this boat going around, you know, the opera house, and there was music and so much nice prasadam, and people being very nostalgic and talking about the past. And it was just an incredible festival. I became so inspired with that. And I wasn't even attending it. I had these cartilage problems in my knees. I was in a wheelchair in those days. You know, I just couldn't get around. And I was sort of staying in this room, and Vishalini was coming back, wherever there you are. She was coming back and telling me all the news of the day's events. So I emailed David Shakti and I said, look, David Shakti, we've got to have a 40th anniversary date in Vrindavan. And so 2 years ago, I came and I brought like 65 transcendental stories, and Gurudas contributed to the book. We've all contributed to the book. And now it's here. Here it is. This particular book consists of all those stories. And I've got to acknowledge Daiva Shakti. I mean, Daiva Shakti, she's a powerhouse, you know. I know because I was the temple president here for 5 or 6 years, and I work very closely with Daiva Shakti, and she's a slip of a thing. She's only about 4'10" high, and she's thin and very sort of renounced, you know, personality. Very quiet. She works very diligently and quiet in the background. She's not one of these glory seekers. She just goes about her business, you know. And Prabhupada's house, have you seen it? Prabhupada's house, beautiful. Where's Daiva Shakti? Is she? See, she's not here. She's working somewhere. But look at this. She's put it all together. Now we have history of the build. If someone wants to know 100 years from now, or 200 years from now, oh, who built this temple? How did they do it? It's all here. Incredible. Daiva Shakti, and I'm surrounded by personalities. I mean, you're all so wonderful, you know. You're all doing so much service. And I'm in awe and reverence, and I know Shivram Maharaj is up the back, and Bibi Govinda up the back, and the amount of work and service that they do, and pushing on Prabhupada's movement, because they're the alternatives. We're the alternatives. Prabhupada showed the way. It was hopelessness. despair. There was no one to guide us, and there was this futile attempt to try to, through hallucinogenic drugs and smoking pot, and just to change the system, try to get something else as an alternative. And then Srila Prabhupada arrives and gives us the alternative. And how happy we become because of that. And so again, I'm in so much appreciation of Prabhupada's disciples that are traveling worldwide to try to push on, because we have to be full of compassion on the fallen conditioned souls like Prabhupada was. Because there's no hope for them. They're so deluded, you know. Besides this inferior nature, O Arjuna, that is the superior nature of mind. We're all living entities who are struggling with material nature and sustaining the universe. So, just a little prasadam to kickstart their spiritual life. Just a little prasadam, just a speck. That's why when I came this time to Vrindavan, they have this program of saying, engaging people, chanting one round in Srila Prabhupada's Samadhi. And then they announce it in the morning. And yesterday we had 800 people chanting one round of japa in Srila Prabhupada's Samadhi. I think that's wonderful. I'm going to tell a funny story. I'm going to get you laughing now. When we were first in Vrindavan, do you remember, Gurudas? We were living in these huts, and we had in those early summers, the loo wind, and it was hot. Besides, we get over 40 degrees, you know. And then you put the loo on top of that, and you know you're in trouble. So we had this meeting. It was one of the first meetings I attended with a small group of us there, whether to get a fan, a table a rotating fan, or should we tolerate the stringent conditions of Vrindavan? Now that's a really important meeting, isn't it? Right? Because this is important. We've got to feel a bit of relief. You know, we are from the West, for God's sake. You know. We usually have a lot more comforts than this, you know. So somehow or other we all gave in and we said, yeah, let's have it. So we got this little rotary fan, and we were all laying like hands of a clock, so we could all catch some of the breeze going around. So there was like 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9, 3, and then 10 to 20 past. Like that, we were all there, you know. A couple of seconds.
We were waking up in a pool of water. What is that? It's us. Inspiration, remember?
Yeah. Which comes to this funny part. Of course, that was funny. In the afternoon, we used to have a drink. Do you remember? We used to make a drink and maybe get some watermelon, you know, because we didn't have much money in those days. So we used to take it in turns to get on a bicycle, and we'd wrap ourselves up like mummies, remember? We'd wet our cloth and we'd wrap around, and sunglasses, and you know, like we'd get on the bike and we'd have to pedal down to Loy Bazaar to go to the ice wallah. Remember the ice wallah at the end of Loy Bazaar? And he used to keep these blocks of ice.